Hello and welcome to our International Women's Day discussion panel. My name is Kelsey and I'm the chief reporter at the St Helens Star newspaper, an industry that is traditionally dominated by men. In fact, until recently, I was the only woman on the news team. I'm very happy that I'm no longer the only one. Today I'm speaking to 5 inspirational women from across St Helens Borough, from very different walks of life, all with their very own stories, opinions and views on equality, tackling discrimination and standing up to bias and stereotyping. I'll introduce each of them shortly, but first I'll tell you all a little bit about International Women's Day. The day is a global day which celebrates the social, economic, cultural and political achievements of women everywhere. The day also marks a call of action for accelerating gender equality. But it's not a new thing. The origins of the day go back over a century to the first celebrations held under the suffragette movement in 1911. But enough of them, we'll talk about now. And I'd like to welcome a number of high schools in St Helens and colleges, all of whom have submitted some questions. And we're very happy for them to join us today. So let's introduce today's panel. You can see the faces here. Unfortunately, we've had Cath O'Dwyer, the Chief Executive for St Helens Council, get in touch and say she's unable to be with us today, but Cath Fogarty, if you want to have a wave. She's the Council's Executive Director of Corporate Services and she will be taking her place today, so thank you very much, Cath. Like I just said, Cath is the Executive Director for Corporate Services at the Council and is the lead for the Council's £350 million gross revenue budget and the more than £100 million capital programme. She started working at Salford City Council at 18 as a clerical officer and went on to qualify as a chartered accountant, working for many other North West councils. Cath looks to challenge the stereotypical image of accountants as people in boring grey suits. Want to give us a wave, Cath? There we go. Now we've also got Bisi Osundeko. Do you want to give us a wave, Bisi? Bisi is a ward councillor for Parr and a businesswoman. Bisi came to the UK from Nigeria 15 years ago to study at Nottingham University after winning a scholarship. She became a councillor for Parr in 2019, has her own baby wear brand and was named one of the 100 business mums in the UK. We've also got Tami Garvey-Jones. Tammy, give us a wave. Might be a little bit obvious by what she's wearing, but she's in the police. In fact, she's a chief inspector with Merseyside Police, and until recently, she had overall responsibility for policing in St Helens and Knowsley areas. Tammy has had a successful career in police and has been at the forefront of operational policing, holding a number of key positions for more than 25 years. We've also got Jade. Do you want to give us a wave, Jade? There she is, very happy face. Jade initially trained as a design and technology teacher before developing a genetic condition that caused her to lose a lot of her sight. After suffering with depression, Jade took up running, joining a local running group, and last year won the ladies' St Helens 10K run. I remember interviewing you there. And she's part of the British Athletics Futures Academy, hoping to qualify for the 2021 Paralympics. Jade is also completing a master's. Jade is also completing a master's to teach pupils with visual impairment and is the co-owner of Made to Run, a specialist running store in St Helens. And lastly, we have Gill Kelly. Give us a wave, Gill. Big wave there. Gill is Managing Director of M&Y Maintenance Construction. She has transformed a business that in 2009 had a turnover of £2 million to a business with a forecast turnover of £35 million in 2021. Gill has also been nominated for an Inspire Award and is an active participant in the St Helens Ambassador Network Group. Okay, so now we've all met. Hi, happy smiley faces. We'll move on to the questions for today. First up, what does International Women's Day mean to you and why do you think it's important? Cath, do you want to start us off on that?
Yes, I'm happy to. Thanks, Kelsey. For me, it's vital really that we do take this opportunity to celebrate, reflect and be very proud as women, each of us and all of us in our own right. And it's particularly poignant for me this year with the pandemic, and everybody's lives have changed so significantly. So with homeschooling and caring responsibilities becoming more prevalent in everybody's lives, I think women have taken a greater brunt in a lot of circumstances of those roles. So this year, particularly important to ensure that we reflect on that and ensure that that equality that we've all strived for so long, we don't see slipping back into the way typical roles were many, many years ago. So for me, I think this year is more important than any. Thank you.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Bisi, do you have anything to say on that?
Yes, please. I feel that it is really important for us to acknowledge and celebrate women. Thinking about the fact that there are some women in some third world countries that are not in school. There's some girls that are not in school. So it's really important for us to constantly acknowledge and celebrate the contributions of women to the economy and business, sports, and just in terms of this year's theme, it is really important for us to think about how we can constantly strive for a better gender equality for women, and to actually constantly advocate for the rights of women all around.
Definitely. Now, the theme for this year, because each year has a different theme, is the hashtag Choose to Challenge. Now, can you ladies please tell me a time when you've had to challenge inequality or call out bias in your life? Jade?
Well, I originally trained as a design technology teacher, as you said, and I was going into schools on different placements, teaching resistant materials and electronics and woodwork and that kind of thing, which is in most schools, in most cases, it's very it's a very male-dominated subject to teaching, really. So every time I got to a school and said, look, I'm a design technology teacher, they try and put me in textiles and cooking, and I'd be like, it's not really what I want to do. I have to really fight to be able to go into the woodwork classes and the resistant materials classes and to be able to do electronics, because that's like what I was more interested in, what I was really excited about, really. But I'd say towards the end of my degree, as I was about to qualify, that's when I developed a genetic condition and lost a lot of my vision. So then obviously it was difficult for me to fight to get signed off to be able to actually teach in a practical classroom, because it was kind of unsafe to have somebody, soaring away with 30 children around you. Gotcha. So I had to really fight to be able to be signed off as liable to teach, basically. And then once I became a teacher of design technology with a visual impairment, trying to get a job was so difficult. I even had one school say, I'm really sorry, but we don't really want anybody working with a sight impairment with our children. I just don't think it would work. And I found that really shocking. As I say, really had to fight to be able to get to where I am now. But as I say, now I work in a school for blind children, teaching them everything from 2 years to 19 years old, and teaching them every subject, really. So I've had to go through a lot of different challenges, one with being a woman, and then two with being visually impaired, to be able to actually teach.
And it's the message that gives out as well, because, to children with visual impairment, seeing you in your role, that will be very inspiring to them, showing them like, oh look, this person's had to go through something similar to me, and look where she is. So it is important for that visibility as well as us each experiencing it ourselves. Thank you so much for answering that, Jade. Jill, you've got your hand up. In a Teams fashion.
In a polite way.
Yeah.
So obviously maintenance construction, there's not very many senior decision makers who are female. There's quite a lot of support roles who are female. So I became managing director 11 years ago, and I remember going to a direct works forum, which was a forum for other organisations who deliver repairs internally. And one of my male directors got asked the question of, how do you cope when your boss is a woman? And this was in a very open forum. This event was attended by 100 men, and I was the only female in the room. Wow. But my attitude has always been, I'm sorry I intimidate you, but my results speak for themselves. So I've got absolutely no inferiority complex. I know exactly what I bring to the table and the results and where the business goes. So, you know, I've got confidence in my own ability. So I've always dismissed them comments and not felt that I always have to call them out. I just smile sweetly and walk away and think, well, my results will speak for themselves. So I think sometimes it's just getting on and doing it and not letting those comments affect you, knowing your own worth and understanding what you bring to the table. And if you feel that strongly yourself, nobody can bring you down.
No, I think that's a really good and powerful message for anyone, really, but particularly if they think they're being put down in any way. You know, just standing up and believing in yourself is really important, and I hope a lot of the schools listening today can take that on board. Thank you for that, Jill. And Bisi, you've also got your hand up in a technological fashion.
Yes, thank you. And so my experience, slightly similar to Jill's experience. So as a businesswoman and going for some trade events and corporate events and having to constantly justify or confirm the fact that I truly own my business. And so being asked if I'm a franchisee and being asked if I just own the franchise of the business, or being asked if I'm even the cleaner or something like that. In my opinion, everybody brings something to the table. So even if I am maybe the cleaner or the employee or the franchise owner of the, of the business, really, in my opinion, you still deserve some respect. But apparently, there is some sort of box that has been created, and it's almost as if the expectation is that I do not fit into that box, or that perception that CEOs or directors don't look like me. So these are the sort of experiences that I actually sometimes experience, and having to really prove that I truly own my business.
Yeah, well, it must be really irritating, but you know, it's this sense of having to justify your appearance in business and your role, and it's really something that none of us should have to do. We should just be judged on our own merit, shouldn't we? Now, we've had some questions sent in by some schools. So this question has been sent in by Year 11 at St Cuthbert's Catholic High School in Sutton. And the question is, what advice would you give to your 16-year-old self? Does anyone want to answer that question? Jill?
Yeah, so I love answering questions like this because my advice is very, very simplistic. What you make in your life, to me, is not about background, about privilege, or about qualifications or intelligence. It's about simple behaviours that anybody can do. So it's about being positive, being on time, being resilient, being focused, and anybody can do that. So, you know, from my perspective, my success in my career is because of those things, because I've never gave up. I've turned up for work every day, however low I felt or whatever disappointment I've had. And I've believed in myself and pushed forward. And I think that what you need to understand when you're young is if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will, and no one will come and save you. So you've got to make your own destiny, and you've got to make your own future. And to do that, you've got to stand up and believe in yourself. And I think a combination of just believe in yourself and do them simple traits, you know, be a positive person, come up with solutions, smile, be on time, be kind, and that's all you need. You don't need some of the other stuff that young people get hung up about, not being clever enough or, you know, not having a privileged enough background. It doesn't mean anything. If you have them simple traits, you can be a success at anything you want to be.
No, I agree. Thank you for that, Jill. Tammy, you've got your hand up.
Yes, Kelsey, just resonating with what's been said. I grew up in Knowsley and having lived and worked both in Knowsley and St Helens, and both of these areas we all know have deprived areas. And going back to what Jill just said, people might have low aspirations and expectations of themselves. And what's been key for me is my own mum and my grandmum, who both inspired me to achieve by adopting those values and beliefs that, you know, if you want something, you can achieve it. So, for example, I was an 18-year-old grew up in a deprived area of Knowsley and joined the TA, which is the Territorial Army, which is now the Reserves. And because at that time I was a medical secretary, I was the first female to join the Royal Engineers, and they didn't know how to accept me as the first female entrant person. So they offered me an admin role and assumed that I'd be best in an office. So I challenged their bias and said, I've joined the TA to do something different, and I want to drive a heavy goods vehicle like the rest of the people here, namely all the men. So I took them aback, and they basically didn't know what to do with me. Anyhow, going back to those values, I persisted with my outlook on life, and I was determined, and I got to drive the heavy goods vehicles and secured me heavy goods licenses. So again, it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. It's about that motivation and achieving goals in life and set yourself apart. And I can transfer that over to Merseyside Police. Having joined the police when I felt mature enough, having gained many promotions, it was once said to me from a boss, you've done well for yourself considering where you come from. So I was absolutely shocked by that comment, and that still sits with me today. But if any message I could give to my younger self is for, you know, have a goal, have a vision, believe in yourself. And it has got nothing to do with, you know, your intelligence or your background, because we can all, you know, learn to read and write and educate ourselves. And if we have good morals and values, then, you know, we're being kind and fair. We can all get on in life and achieve those things. And to put a positive to it, I got advice when I was 18, but I never took it, and I wish I had. Start a pension. So young people don't see the value of money and just want to spend it on the now, but I'd also put a little bit to one side for your future. So that would be my other advice, would be to start a pension as well.
Okay, all right, thank you for that, Tammy. Cath, you've got your hand up.
Thanks, Kelsey. I'd echo Tammy's views on the pension. It's always good to save for your future. I'll take note of that one. For me, it's about always being true to yourself and being absolutely authentic, and be brave and continue to challenge. So call out, even very young in your career or job interviews, questions you feel are biased. Say, is that an appropriate question? Challenge behaviours in your working environment. When I was very young, in an office, only the females made the tea for the directors, and there were you know, trainees of both sexes. I said everybody should make the tea. And you're not being bossy when you say that. It is not bossy. You're absolutely right to assert yourself and make those points clearly and fairly. I think that's important.
Yeah, and it's the language used as well, like you said, bossy. You know, it's so often. How many women? How many of us have been called bossy? Would guys have necessarily been called bossy? Not necessarily. Bisi, you've got your hand up as well.
Yes, please. So an advice that I would give to my 18-year-old self is to see failure as a part of the process, you know, to not be afraid to try and try and try again, and to not also waste my time trying to force or get others to like me. A lot of the times, strong women, I mean, over history, are sometimes disliked. People always have an opinion. So that is an advice I would like to give to my 18-year-old self.
Yeah, no, I think that's very good advice. You're not there to be liked, you're there to do your job well, aren't you? And people should like you for doing a job well and just being yourself, shouldn't they? Jade, you've also got your hand up.
So 16-year-old, don't drink, respect your elders. That kind. No, I'm joking. I would just say, well, you're obviously you're at a young age. You need to enjoy yourself. You need to have fun, and you're at an age where you can make the most of any opportunity. You've not got commitments like all of us adults do. It's not you've got to pay for a mortgage and pay for bills. Like any opportunity that you see, then you just need to just grab it with both hands and just go for it regardless of the outcome. And say when we were thinking about, me and my partner was setting up our running store, we was like, oh, it might not work out, it might not go down so well, and then we just thought, you know what, we want a running shop. Let's go and make a running shop. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. It's, you know what I mean? It's, you don't want to be 90 years old and going, do you know what? I really wish I'd have opened a running shop. Do you know what I mean? I mean, don't open a running shop because I don't want competition for my running shop. Just whatever dreams or hopes or aspirations that you have, then, you know, you're at an age to just go for it. Just do it.
Definitely.
And respect your elders.
And respect your elders, very important, guys. We've had another question here, which has been asked by Cowley International College, which is, who would you say has been a role model to you in your life or career, and why? Does anyone have an answer to that question? I don't know if hands have gone up for this question or not. Jill?
Yeah, it's a combination of both with mum and dad, really. My mum had a supportive role and did work part-time and was at home, but she never got rattled easy. She never got round up. She was very resilient, very hands-on with both me as a youngster and my children. And she was at that age where she had grandchildren and elderly parents to care for. And she did it all without any fuss and any drama. And then also my dad, from a business perspective, you know, my dad started the business that I'm managing director of now with a 50p a week loan from the catalogue for a set of ladders and a second-hand van, you know, and he'd grown it to £2 million before he retired. And for 10 of those years, their own home was signed up as collateral for the bank. So it was that bravery to try and do something different and change the life for his daughters and his family. So I think they've been strong role models for myself in my life and my career.
Yeah, I think a lot of us in this part of the world, and in St Helens in particular, most of us come from working class backgrounds, so we've got like hard-working parents, and they can be a real inspiration to us, particularly for International Women's Day, hard-working mums, even if that's working really hard from home and keeping the family going. Cath, you've got your hand up.
Yes, thanks, Kelsey. When I came to St Helens Council in the early 2000s, we were one of the councils that had a female chief exec and a female leader for a very long time, and that was very unique. And similarly, 2 years ago, the council had an executive leadership team that was all women. Now, you're inspired by strong women. I suppose what I would want to add to that is that shouldn't be unique and it shouldn't be newsworthy, but it was. And I think that's what we're pushing against, isn't it, really? Yeah. That shouldn't be something that makes the headlines, but it did. But take those strong role models that are around you and learn from them, people that are at the top. And women are always very, very willing to share, I find, and will give guidance and coaching. Anybody that ask anybody for any advice. We will and will always be willing to share and guide people.
Oh, that's brilliant. Tammy, have you got your hand up as well? Don't know if you're frozen. Are you frozen? We will wait for you to come back. Bisi, have you got your hand up?
Yes.
Hi, have you got your hand up, Bisi? I think you're muted.
Yes, please. So I've been inspired by my mom, my late mom. I'm very inspired by how she managed to juggle motherhood, running a business, and also as a trained nurse. I mean, she had so many responsibilities, caring for 5 children. Even though she is late now, her values are still sort of inspiring me up till today. So I consider my late mom to be my perfect role model. I also love the success immigrant story of the former PepsiCo CEO, Indra Nooyi. You know, just thinking about our experiences in America where she's had to immigrate from another country, I find that a lot of the things that she has been through or she talks about are so relatable, you know, and, you know, these are the sort of experiences that I've also sort of been through, having to sort of integrate into a new culture, environment, based on the fact that I wasn't originally born here. I really consider her success story as an immigrant in America to be highly inspirational. So she is also my role model. And lastly, the newest World Trade Organization boss, Okonji Ngozi Iweala, I consider her to be a huge inspiration as well. Thank you.
It's brilliant. Now we've got 3 other questions to get through. So if we go on to question 5, what challenges would you say women stereotypically face based on their gender? Jade, have you got an answer to this question?
Well, I would say coming from an athletics background, I would say, especially as a distance runner as well, you're expected to look a certain way. If you watch any track races or any Olympic races, every female is really, really skinny. They've got like washboard abs and things, and they have to wear those little tiny crop tops and those little brief running knickers. Which I find absolutely traumatizing, not gonna lie. And I just think that that's all you see, especially on like Instagram, TikTok, any social media, that's all you see. It's literally about, I would say women have got so much pressure on them to look a certain way. And when I was first diagnosed with my visual impairment, I was like really scared to go out anywhere. Obviously, lost my driving license, was struggling to teach, that kind of thing. I was really like scared to go outside, so I just kind of hid away, ordered lots of, pizza, everything you could possibly think of, and I put on loads and loads of weight. And that's when I really struggled as well, obviously with everything on social media. But mainly, as I started to lose the weight, that's when I started to get like stretch marks and loose skin, everything like that. So now coming into athletics and having to look a certain way and to wear certain clothing, as I say, like the male athletes, they have full vests on and they have like shorts on down to the knees, and that's what all they run in. Whereas the women have got these hardly anything off, they're like running around tracks in bikinis. What's that about? Do you know what I mean? As I say, it's your choice what you wear, but at the same time, it's like when I show up to races in like full vests and like long shorts, people are like, oh, is that what you're wearing to racing?
Women are more stereotypically judged on what they're wearing and their appearance, so than what they do in their role, and it's not, guys don't normally have to face that as much, so not so much that we all have to run in bikinis, but we can all apply that to our
well, as well as like being like a runner, you need to obviously let your running do the talking, let what it is that you're good at prove the point of like obviously that you can do whatever you want to do. I've shown up to races and they're like, oh, you need a vest for a larger lady, or you move pretty fast for somebody that looks like an elite athlete, and they're kind of comments that I've had because I don't look like a stereotypical distance runner. Now, for a normal person, I am slim. It's just in this other world, which I think is what a lot of like opinions need to change on that matter, because obviously I was the first female at St Helens 10K. I was the only female to do under 40 minutes on that very hilly course. As I say, so that just does the talking for you. Do you know what I mean? So that just, as I say, that's like a message that I want to give. That it's not about. I know it's being healthy and you want to be like a healthy weight and things like that, and it's obviously it's okay to be like big and things like that, but obviously you do want to be healthy, but at the same time it's like it doesn't matter if you want to achieve what you want to achieve, then it honestly just doesn't matter what you look like or what everybody else look like. I just wouldn't let that affect you, because I went through a time where it used to get me really, really down what I looked like, and every time you could see any stretch marks or any loose skin, I used to get myself really, really upset about it. But as I say, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Your achievements yourself as a woman will speaks for itself.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for that, Jade. Tammy, we lost you for a while. You've come back. You've got your hand up. Do you want to answer this question as well? What challenges would you say women stereotypically face based on their gender?
Yeah, Kelsey, from me, can you hear me okay firstly?
Yeah, we can hear you fine, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Some of the things I've personally faced and have witnessed in others, and the perception that might be there around females, is our tone of voice and our physical looks, and how people might not perceive us as good managers or leaders because we are different from the stereotypical male leader. So this could be a perception that we might not be a strong leader because we are more emotionally connected to people's feelings and well-being. And I'm sick of hearing the fact that women are fluffy and, you know, leaders are supposed to be male and strong and physical. And, you know, I see negatives in some of those areas. And I think women add value to management and leadership through the different skills that we do have as a gender. But I do think the way we look, whether we choose to wear makeup or not, the tone of our voice, and I think that gives a perception of others that we might not be capable as females to lead or to manage, because we are different from our previous male leaders and the perceptions that people have. And I face that both in my personal and working life, where people think I should do certain things because I'm female. So for example, when I joined the police, I went to a domestic incident. Male and female were arguing, trying to cope with a young family and working life, which you could argue is a situational domestic incident, not as always portrayed in the media that, you know, we have perpetrators solely choosing victims of domestic abuse. But this, you know, domestic incidents for me are just people trying to cope with life, and they might have the odd argument over this, that or the other. And when we turned up to the scene, the male partner who I was with expected me to deal with the female while he dealt with the male. So I challenged that straight away and said, well, I'm 24, you're 34, you're a married man with 2 kids. I think you're best placed to speak to the female who's got the kids with her in the kitchen. I'll go into the living room and deal with the man who's angry and just wants to fight with the police, and I'll go and calm him down. And that's exactly what we did. I took the lead, and straight away that male colleague at that time was a little bit apprehensive and doubted my capability, got on the police radio and called for backup, as if we wouldn't be able to cope with that incident with me supporting him at that scene. The outcome of that matter was that the male calmed down straight away. We sat down, we had a chat, we diffused the situation, and the police officer, on reflection back then in the early 90s, apologised, reflected on the value that I brought to the role. And for me, that was a turning point. And I always remember that challenge and the turning point in policing.
Yeah, that must be really difficult, because you're having to do your job and you've got this public face, haven't you? You know, you're trying to be respectful and represent the force. And yeah, that must have been quite a challenge. Fortunately, we don't deal with things as obvious as that in everyday life usually now, but the fact that we have to deal with it at all is still not great, needs to be challenged. So thank you for that.
Yeah, but saying that though, now Kelsey, Merseyside Police and police in general have come leaps and bounds with equality and fairness, and today's policing is so much very different to the way it is now. And, you know, females and males alike, you know, we get the best out of the person with what skills and abilities they bring, regardless of that gender. So it is a positive now, but I just wanted to share that experience in case people, you know, might resonate with that, or give them confidence, you know, to actually stand up and be confident and, you know, speak to people around your capability and capacity for who you are and what you can do, and bring value to the table.
Thank you for that, Tammy. Bisi, do you have your hand up?
Yes, please. Thank you, Kelsey. This question just takes my mind back to women and our biological function. So from my experience, one of the major challenges that some of we women face based on our gender is actually this issue of returning to work post-childbirth. Really makes me sad that a lot of women, after having children, find it very difficult or find it very, very challenging to actually re-establish their career. I had that issue as well. After having children, I was advised to go for care work, and I did try going for care work, and, you know, just did this for 3 months and just told myself that I know that I can definitely do better. And so, you know, it's that issue where no matter how qualified we are, sometimes after we've had children and we're trying to reestablish our career, it can be really, really challenging. In business, as a businesswoman, I can say that the imposter syndrome affects women a lot more. We're generally a lot more afraid to sort of like showcase our sort of expertise, even in terms of charging. Women sometimes don't charge enough. You know, I used to be sort of like a bit afraid in the past to charge my worth, because I feel that maybe it will just look as though I'm bragging or something like that. So yes, I think it's really, really a challenge for women, just thinking about this issue in terms of knowing our worth and really valuing our skills, really.
Well, thank you for that, Bisi. Our next question is, how do we as women succeed in a male-dominated environment? Gill, you work in the maintenance and construction, so this is quite an obvious one for you. How would you answer that?
I would say just be yourself. I know recently I had a female join as one of the management team, and she was trying to be aggressive and masculine, and I pulled her to one side and said, why do you feel you need to behave in that way? You just behave exactly as you normally would. You don't need to behave in that way to get respect. You know, you've just got to be yourself. And I think you've got to be good in any leadership role, or in a role that you're driving change. You've just got to have the data to back up when you're trying to get change and what you're trying to get achieved. You need to be fair, you need to be kind, you need to be open and honest. And one thing in my career, I've never been afraid to show vulnerability. If I've got something wrong, if I've made a mistake, if I've done it the wrong way, I'm very open with that, and I always find people respond really well. Vulnerability to me is a strength. You know, you don't have to pretend to know the answers to everything. You don't have to be an expert in everything. So just be yourself, because difference is strength, and being vulnerable sometimes is strength. And I think sometimes men miss a trick because they don't let themselves be vulnerable, and they don't let themselves go, oh my God, I've made this mistake. I don't need to pretend I'm a master of the universe. I'm just a woman trying to do the best she can, and I don't apologise for that. That's all you get with me. So so that's my advice, really, Kelsey.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Gill. Tammy, this is quite an obvious one for you as well in the role that you're in. How would you answer that?
I would connect with what Gill has said, and it's about being true to yourself with those values and beliefs. You know, be confident. You know, I would say knowledge is power, because sometimes you hear the phrase, women need to feel that they're 110 or 20% ready for something before they actually commit to want to go for something, where a male will think, well, I'm 70, 80% ready, but you know what, I'll give it a go and chance it anyway. So I'd like to encourage, you know, females to go for things regardless. You know, they're on a learning journey. You know, admit that you might get things wrong, and vulnerability is key and is a strength. So having that determination, motivation, and still strive to get things done, and hold your values true to yourself, being honest and fair, and inclusive. You know, we all bring something different to the table. Yeah. And I had no idea of me as an individual in my policing career. You know, I was just striving for me as an individual to do better for myself. You know, I've never put myself in competition with anybody else or set myself unrealistic goals. I've been balanced, and for me it's all around the balance between your age, how you progress, how you learn, where you are in life, and just be kind to yourself, and don't do something that someone wants you to do unless you don't feel that it's right for you. And standing up for yourself as well. So going back to that early comment before, what Cath said about making the cup of tea, you know, when I joined the police, we called probationers students the SPROG. It was as called a term of endearment. You're the new person on the team, you make the tea for everybody. So I actually stood up and said, I'm sorry, I don't drink tea. I don't know how to make it. However, I'll collect the tea money and I'll go to the shops and I'll buy it for you. And then what money I save can be for our night out at Christmas. But don't ask me to make tea. So,
well, no one wants to buy a cup of tea anyway, so they probably were thanking you for that.
Yeah, and you know, it's just about going the extra mile as well, you know, being resilient, and don't live up to those stereotypical views of what people will think a female is. Be unique and be true to yourself.
Yeah. Cath, you've got your hand up as well.
Yeah, just quickly on that one. It's, you know what your goals are and be absolutely relentless in the pursuit of them. And I also think that, you know, women such as ourselves in those roles should give a hand up to other aspiring women who want to succeed. We should all do that. Thanks.
Oh, it's important, isn't it? Jade, have you got your hand up, or is that from a previous question?
It was a previous question.
That's okay, we'll go on to the last one.
Okay.
So this question has been asked by St Helens Ambassador Network Group, and the question is, how do you think men can contribute more to women's empowerment? Does anyone have an answer for that? Tammy?
Yes, having worked with males all my life in the army and in the police, I've found a better connection to my male colleagues who have emotionally connected to female and gender issues, knowing how difficult it is to balance work and life, knowing when they're of low mood because it's the time of the month, to say the obvious, knowing when it's the time of the life because of menopause. And just noticing those emotional highs and lows. And the males that I've connected with inside and outside of work have always been attuned emotionally to female issues. And I think the more we educate everybody in that, you know, there's always a reason for, you know, they say unturn a stone and, you know, scratch beneath the surface and you'll get there. And I think that, you know, for women, a better understanding of our genetics and our makeup, because there's always a reason for our behaviour or actions or inaction, and being more attentive.
Right, okay. Thank you so much for that, Tammy. And Bisi, you've got your hand up?
Yes. And so I feel that, well, this point might be slightly unconventional, because I have been to events where my husband literally has been turned away simply because the event is women focused. But I personally feel that it is important for us to involve men in women focused empowerment events. That way, men won't be completely detached from the experiences of women. And all the times when I read stories or see things that really infuriate me, I just send them to my husband. And then I'm seeing over time that he's actually becoming a feminist, because he constantly wants to advocate for the rights of women. I think it's important for men to be in spaces where women are sharing these experiences, so that they will over time understand how women feel, their experiences. I see men, our brothers, as gatekeepers, and so this can even start from home. They would want to protect their wives, their girlfriends, their daughters. So it is really important for us to involve men. And one last thing I was just going to say is, I mentioned earlier on about caring responsibilities. If I did not get enough support from my husband in terms of caring responsibilities, I think definitely it will be really challenging for me to be involved in business and be as successful as I'm doing, or in politics. So we need to get more men involved in caring. This stereotype that women are the ones that have to be you know at home caring and changing nappies and all that. We need to switch these gender roles and realize that we have to start involving our men, a lot more men. I'm not saying men are not doing it, but we just need to get a lot more men to be involved, and so that this way we can reduce that that burden. It's not really a burden for women anyway. I know women are not complaining, but that way we can release more women into the economy, so that they can also contribute as well their skills and expertise.
Yeah, because, you know, back in the day, there was certain ideas that certain roles were for women, certain roles were for men. And if women can do everything, that means guys can do everything too. Obviously, biologically, there are some limitations, but physically being able to care for people, being able to look after and have that aspect of their life, that's really, really important to highlight. So thank you for that. Cath, you put your hand up?
Yeah, it's quite simple for me, really. We should ask them to. We should absolutely expect them to. And if they don't, we'll direct them to and tell them exactly what we want. And we should all embrace that.
definitely. And Jill, you've got your hand up as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of finish on a bit of a positive, really, and I felt I needed to say this is the small minority of men. You know, the men I work with are absolutely amazing. They're some of my bestest friends and bestest allies, and sometimes I don't even have to fight for my own equality because they're fighting it for me without me even opening my mouth. So within the organisation I work for, although I've had a couple of difficult issues outside the organisation, but there's 240 people underneath me, and not one has ever questioned my leadership because I'm a female. Never. I've been here since I was 19. So, you know, if you get the culture right, and I just want to say that this is a small minority, particularly nowadays. The majority of men are absolutely fantastic. They're emotionally intelligent, they're supportive, they're inclusive. I just felt I had to say that, Kelsey, in case anyone out there's thinking, oh God. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's been like this transformation over time, hasn't there? And with every new generation, you know, there's new people born and raised to see the world differently, and that's what we want, really. And it'll get better and better the more we talk about things and the more we encourage each other to learn from each other. So, well, thank you for that. That kind of rounds up our discussion panel for today. I'd like to thank the panel for taking the time to talk, and thank you for each taking part as well. I know it can be difficult, especially on Teams. I'm sure you'll all agree it's a very important and interesting topic, though. Thank you as well to St Helens High Schools who have listened in today and submitted questions, and to members of the St Helens Ambassador Network who have also joined us and submitted questions. This discussion has been recorded, so it will be available to be viewed again and will be put out in the world on International Women's Day, which is on Monday. And thank you again, and happy International Women's Day for everyone on Monday who's listening.